Howdy friends. So today we're going to talk about the Bloodsworn trilogy. The Bloodsworn trilogy. I've talked about it a lot with y'all. Finally finished it. Been very busy. Yada yada yada. I'm not in my library because we got projects going on up there. So I'm coming to y'all right here. Anyway, Shadow of the Gods has to be one of the best initial, entries, whatever you want, the first books in a series I've ever read. This did its job. This, as a standalone book, is excellent. But all I wanted to do after reading this was go on to the next books. This was amazing. This built the world well. I felt as though this was something happening outside my door. And if you're a fan of Viking flavored things, Scaldic poetry and so on, this slaps. Out of 10, easily 8.59 out of 10. There's a few things in there that kind of bother me. Words kind of repetitive, but also it makes sense. So you can't be too mad. But man, Thought Cage is crazy. Anyway, next up, The Hunger of the Gods. This kind of goes into the slump of the second book. The second book, the second entry in trilogies kind of has a lot, it's kind of a curse, and this does kind of fall into it. It's still all the things that are great about this carry over into this, and also all the things that kind of drive you crazy about this, kind of crazy in this too. The action scenes are great, the world building is still good, but kind of the story arc kind of thing gets a little repetitive. It'll be here. And then instant down, you'd be like, okay, cool, there's about to be resolution, there's no resolution. Okay, well, there's about to be resolution, okay, there's no resolution. It just kind of keeps doing that over and over again, where it kind of stops losing its oomph. Something starts to happen, you're like, oh, well, it's not gonna work out anyway, so, you know what I mean? So by the end of it, you're kind of ready for it to be over. Still great, it's still fun, it's just kind of, man, you know what I mean? Anyway, so out of 10, I would say this one's 7 out of 10. It's the longest of the three. Not bad at all. I'm just kind of cranky, but solid. Going into the third book, which I just finished today, Fury of the Gods. Pick this one up as kind of dragging as this one is, as kind of middling as this one is. You're really hoping for things to start getting tied up, and you're excited. This one, again, this book does its job. It makes you excited to read this book, because after this one, okay, cool, we're gonna get this one going and start getting things done, and that kind of doesn't happen. Things in this book don't really start to really happen for real until about the 400 page mark. The last 150, 200 pages or so, that's when all the things finish. This very much here is all still set up. And one thing about John Gwynn that's excellent, his action scenes are fantastic. His action scenes are great, and they're plentiful. It's not like a Robin Hobb where this beautiful world and everything else, and the action scenes, you might get 1 to 2 action scenes in the book. There's action scenes all the time, which is great. The issue is, by the time the climax kind of started happening in this one, I didn't realize it was the climax, because there's just so many epic battle scenes in the series that when the big crescendo moment was happening, I just thought I was in another battle scene, because they're all so great. I was like, oh, hold on a minute, all the characters are here. Oh man, this is the one, and you got to buckle down. And it made the last 200 pages gripping and wonderful and fast paced. It was just, I kind of wish it gave you a little more time to chew on things, because a storyline would be finished, and it would, okay, immediately on the next thing. It's like, hold on a minute. I just, let me chew on that for a second. So that's my one complaint, is that the storylines were so good and the characters were so, well thought out and developed that, when their storylines kind of ended for either, death or success or whatever it was, I kind of wish it gave me a little more time to be with them in that moment, which is a great thing. So out of 10, I think this goes back to 8, maybe barely touch a 9 out of 10. And as a trilogy as a whole, this has got to be one of my favorite trilogies I've ever read. It's a Viking fantasy, especially good Viking fantasy, is kind of a rarity. This is fantastic. I would say this trilogy is, 8.59 out of 10 as a whole. There are some things about it that, I would do a little differently. A couple things that, aren't the best thing in the world, but overall, this is just absolutely fantastic, a modern classic trilogy.
Ride the Harley into the sunset.